Folks, this episode has once again been sponsored by my friends at Vault 31 Bar. Just 10 minutes north of the Portland airport, Vault 31 is a video game-themed bar built for absolutely everyone who loves gaming and geek culture. They offer an incredible selection of beverages and signature cocktails alongside tons of PC and console games available to play. And if you're hungry, they've got plenty of food available from their kitchen, including house-made pizzas, Smurshburgs, and all kinds of deliciously themed options. Anyone who's caught past episodes of this show knows that Vault 31 is all about inclusivity and wants to make sure that absolutely everyone is welcome. As part of their ongoing efforts to make sure they are a space for all gamers, they recently announced that they've purchased the space next door and will be renovating it into an all-ages coffee bar and lounge space so that even the under 21 folks will find safe harbor here. As if that wasn't enough, Vault 31 hosts all kinds of community events, including mini painting, tournaments, pride events, and is currently the home of my newest monthly lo-fi event, but you'll have to follow myself and Vault 31 on socials to find out more about that. Speaking of socials, you can visit them at vault31bar.com or at Vault31Bar on Facebook, Instagram, X, YouTube, and Twitch. Or honestly, just visit them in person. I promise there's no cryopods or vacuum cleaners with a human brain attached. If you know, you know. This place is freaking great. And if you're looking for a space that feels like home away from your nerd cave, Vault 31 is that place for me. Just tell them DJ Switch said hi. With that, let's get back to the show. Hey everyone, and welcome to another very special episode of Pick Up and Play. My name is DJ Switch. I am the DJ and MC for the Portland Retro Gaming Expo, and today I have several guests that I was lucky enough to sit down and have a quick chat with at the recent SideQuest Gaming Expo. The SideQuest Gaming Expo is an event that started out its life as a swap meet for the Portland Retro Gaming Expo in the springtime. However, it has since taken on a life of its own and been taken over by Josh at SideQuest, whom you may remember from an earlier episode of this podcast. I had a great time hanging out Saturday at the SideQuest Gaming Expo, and I got a chance to sit down with a few of my friends whom I'm excited to introduce you all to today. These are going to be shorter, sort of like quick hit interviews, and so it's going to be a very different format from what I normally do on the show. And then later in the show today, I've got a very special something for you. I'm going to be sharing with you some of the Patreon exclusive content that was previously only available to those folks. But I'll get into that a little bit more later on in the show. For now, I want to introduce you to my friend Richard. Richard is someone who also has been a part of the Portland gaming community, especially since years ago when he was volunteering for the Portland Retro Gaming Expo, and is one of those personalities that has been just an absolute standout in the community. Richard is a good friend and someone who has actually helped me out quite a bit on my own YouTube channel in the past, albeit behind the scenes. And so while we didn't really talk about that at the Gaming Expo, we did have a really interesting conversation and one that I thoroughly enjoyed, and I hope you will too. So please allow me to introduce my friend Richard. Tell me about your very first experience with video games.
With video games?
Yeah, what was your first video game?
That's a hard question. When I was a kid, I lived in rural Kansas. 30 miles south of Topeka, it was 30 miles in 80 directions towards the McDonald's. That's how far out of the way it was. And my dad was the cable repairman for that town. So we're not spending any money on video games. We got the nice TV and all that sort of stuff. But our close friends were the people who had the rental store in town. And we were the big small town, so we had our own rental store, not one that was like attached to the Thriftway, the IGA. And so instead of buying games, it was we'd go down, we'd rent a video game because they're our friends, and we always were friends. So every weekend, $5 to go pick out a game. But you can't play most video games for over a weekend. None of the good ones. I remember getting the Mario game, the one with the one where you can be like the princess and the cloud guy and the frog and that kind of stuff. And the save states aren't there the next time you rent that game. Is it Mario 2 or I could tell you. It's time for video games, right? And it sucked. Just buy me the game. You go for $40. Just buy me the game. Or did you spend that much on renting the game all summer? Just buy me the game. No, absolutely not. But we had the nice TV. In fact, we were the family on the block with the nice TV, so we always hosted like the TV stuff. You come over, we're going to watch Wizard of Oz because it's on CBS. God,
Movie nights and stuff?
freaking 90s are the worst.
You did like movie nights and stuff?
It was the worst.
Yeah.
But I remember one time, though, I was like 8, and I really wanted the Sega with the CD on it. We didn't have a CD player at home. I was like, oh, but let's see if we can get this and have the music player, too. And he buys one from a pawn shop for me. My dad does. I'm like, great. What games are with it? Oh, no games. We'll go rent a game. There were no Sega games at this rental store because it was rural Kansas. So I got to play Sonic CD for 2.5 years straight. My favorite game on it was the Queen album. And then the worst. Video games are just a sour note sometimes.
My favorite game was the Queen album.
We only had 2 CDs.
That's amazing.
Right. CDs were expensive in the 90s.
So what ended up drawing you to the culture of like, because you and I met at the Portland Retro Gaming Expo, and obviously like you hang out here at SideQuest Expo. So like what drew you to the culture of all of this?
I like people, and I like shopping. I like garage sales and thrift stores, and I like garbage. I love garbage. I love the stories that come along with people's garbage. And so I'd hang out with people who really were into the games, who wanted to buy and resell them and do all that stupid stuff. And I just wanted to see the garbage. With the thrill of the hunt, the fun of finding something cool, something that's neat, you can talk about, whether I have a connection with it or not. Like, sure, I played Super Mario Brothers as a kid, but, it's a video game, it's whatever. But other people have all these fun connections and memories and stuff of that stuff. I guess that's my own, but not to that level. But what I really like about it is it makes neat props for photos and videos, and when you have people over, and look, what do you talk about with people? People are also the worst. But they'll be like, oh, I like this so-and-so on your wall, and then you can sit and spend 30 minutes talking about it. That way there's not that awkward silence. Because otherwise it's a weird Craigslist hookup, and you got to have something to break the ice. They're good icebreakers. I have a 45-minute presentation about my DVD player, also a good icebreaker. Same line of stuff. Found it in the garbage for $5, and you just sort of build like, I don't want to say a bit because that's like going a little too far, but it's almost like a bit around your stuff, around your toys, your collectibles. Then if you're a guy who has collectibles, you know what I'm talking about. I'm that guy about the collectibles.
All right, last question. What is your favorite thing that you've picked up at a show like this?
There's a lot of stuff, but this show, I picked up this guy. This is the B movie, and it is sealed. So I'm going to send it into those people, that scam, like that they're like a video game mafia almost, so that I can inflate the value on it and show off my fancy B movie game. I have like 100 of these, not because this game's fun, but because if I ever want to take a picture or something for like Facebook or whatever, I take it in front of the B movies because every interaction counts. So someone goes, oh, that's a really neat thing. And 14 other people go, what's with the B movie? They don't know what's with the B movies, but I got 14 interactions.
So just to be clear,
work in the system.
You have how many copies of the B movie for PlayStation 2?
Well, they make it on different systems too.
So, okay, how many copies do you have of the B movie game?
Well, they have this. There's a movie too. Like I have like 20 of the game.
Hang on, wait a minute.
And like 140 of the movie.
So you're just collecting anything that says B movie on it?
Well, for a hot minute, we were buying large lots of mixed media from like the Goodwill.
Okay.
And every time I'd see a B movie, I'd just toss it aside. And so all of a sudden, I have like 30 of them. And then somebody goes, what's with the B movies? And so many people kept asking it. So every time I see one, they're like $3. So I buy it and I put it on the shelf. And now anytime I want to, you ever have like a nice thing you take put up against to take a photo, like you listing something on the eBay or, somebody sent you something nice, you want to take a picture and post it to Facebook. I just do that in front of the B movies. Because then, again, the interactions, it's all about the clicks.
Instant
And I like
piece.
to abuse that system.
Yeah, instant conversation piece.
It's like a good backdrop. Take a nice selfie, like for your dating app. You're like that, and the BBs are in the back. You are going to be the popular one.
I love that. Richard, thank you so much.
Oh, you're welcome.
Richard's an absolute character, and what someone wants to do with that many copies of the Bee Movie, I will never understand. But we do need to keep moving along, and my next guest is actually someone who I've been working with pretty closely over the last couple of years. His name is Yusuf, and he's one of a team of DJs that I work with at the Portland Retro Gaming Expo to be able to pull off 3 straight days of playing music. Yusuf is probably the newest member of my team, but he's been doing a lot of work, not only to stream video game music on Twitch, but also has been doing a lot of great work trying to learn how to be able to play out and perform and become a really strong member of my DJ team. I get into a little bit about why I wanted him to come on and join the team, and you'll hear that a little bit later on in the show. But Yusuf and I got to talk about several things while he and I had a quick sit down during the SideQuest Expo, and I'm excited to share that with you now. So please enjoy my short conversation with my friend Yusuf. Okay, so whenever you're ready, I want you to tell me, what was the first experience that you had that made you fall in love with video games?
I was probably about 4 years old, between 4 and 5. It might have been Christmas 1991. I had an NES at the time, right? I had an NES and I had Duck Hunt and all that stuff. But Christmas 1991, I'm pretty sure, my dad came home with a Genesis and a SNES, and he asked me which of the two I could like keep one, right? And instinctively I went with the Genesis, and here we are 32 years later. I'm not wearing my Sonic shirt today, but I can tell you I don't actually own any Nintendo shirts. So not that I love Nintendo, but I'm a Sega kid at heart. So
A man after my own heart. I was also a Genesis kid. So what was your first experience with like within the expo convention scene? Like when did you transition from like playing video games at home and all of that into like it became like a social thing for you?
I got out of my interests sort of drifted from video games around the time that I started college, but around my second or third year, I met a friend who lived in the dorm with me who collected retro games. I got back into collecting Genesis games, and I had a setup in my dorm room, which is very popular with my neighbors. But it was in 2009 that I met, through this friend in the dorm, I met Corey Strite. And Corey invited me to the Gaming Expo in 2009. And it was just an incredible experience. And I've been to every single one ever since.
Well, and now that you're working in the DJ booth at the Retro Game Expo with me and with our team, so what's been your favorite experience, kind of being on the other side of that, and being like a part of the process rather than just being a guest at the expo?
Yeah, absolutely. So, after so many years of attending, eventually you begin to feel that you kind of want to be on the other side and help create experiences for other people. And obviously, Switch, when you invited me, it was like a dream come true because I'd wanted to do that for so many years. But I think it shares something in common with just being a DJ in general, not specifically about video games, but just being a DJ in general. Is like often when you play a song that like maybe it's more of a deep cut, right? But you will get maybe 1 or 2 people who will like march towards your booth and like exalt you, almost bow you for like playing the song. And that's happened quite a couple times. Like when I played a song, it was last year or 2 years ago, when I played Foregone Destruction from Unreal Tournament, and there were people that came up to my booth and they were like pointing like directly at me. Now, and actually one other person told me that he walked from the other end of the hall to the DJ booth because he heard Foregone Destruction. And another example, last year, I'm wearing my Old Boy shirt right here. You can't really tell, but I try to work in some, like movie soundtracks and stuff. And I played a song from the very the iconic hallway fight scene in Old Boy, and I played the background theme for that. And this kid, I think he was probably about 18 or 19, but he was like losing his mind. He was the only person that did that, but he recognized it and it made his day. So it's experiences like that make it totally worth it.
We'll be hearing again from Yusuf a little bit later on in the show, but for right now, I want to introduce you to a couple of newer friends of mine that I actually met, I think, a little over a year ago. Yeah, I think Retro Game Expo 2022, like right around in there, is when I was able to connect with Nicole and Jeremy from Pixel Pond. Now, if you're not familiar with these two, they are responsible for bringing the Portland Retro Gaming Expo into the era of streaming. They started out working with the Retro Game Expo to stream the return of the Blockbuster Video Game Championship, and they've now done that 2 years in a row. In addition to their work on streaming, they've also done quite a bit of video production, promotional video production, as well as taken on several other little smaller projects within the gaming community around Portland. And I'm really, really excited to be able to share with you all my friends Nicole and Jeremy, whom I had the pleasure of sitting down with very briefly at SideQuest Gaming Expo and having a quick chat about their contribution to the local gaming community.
Tell me about your very first experience where you fell in love with video games. Not your first video game, but where was the first time you fell in love with gaming?
Ooh, the first time I fell in love with gaming would have been when I was probably 8 years old. Christmas morning, the very last present on the back of the Christmas tree was Super Mario Brothers 3. I'd been begging my dad for it for months and months for Christmas, and he was, oh, sorry, I can't find it, sold out. Went to the toy store, we couldn't get it. And I'd open every present on Christmas morning, not expecting to get it, and there it was on the back of the tree. And from then on out, I was pretty much inseparable from my video games. Me, the first player controller, and my dog, and we played a lot of games that way in my childhood. How about you, Jeremy?
Oddly, the same exact game. So Mario 3 made me fall in love with gaming from the instant you started to fly as Mario, right? So you got the raccoon tail, you take off into the sky. You just didn't do that on the NES before. And as a 7-year-old kid, 8-year-old kid, it was just like magic. So from that moment on, video games have just been a huge part of my life. Yeah.
Okay, next question. What is your favorite experience at a public expo or convention event that involves video games? For me, obviously my role as a DJ kind of puts me in a weird position, but I love the culture as much as I love the gaming. I also love gaming culture. I love being around other gamers. Mm-hmm. So tell me about an experience that you had being around other gamers that really made you go, yeah, these are my people.
Awesome. Well, mine might be a little bit of a cliche because it was here at SideQuest Expo. And so I could talk about all the fun moments I've had at SideQuest over the years, but definitely one that sticks out to me was last year, the first time I was behind a camera at this event specifically. Not only did I get to walk around doing something I'm really proud of, our work together in Pixel Pond, but I also had time to shop and hang out with my friends, and we got a great video made for Josh for SideQuest last year. We're really happy to be back to be shooting more video footage and working on the tournaments and stuff this year, so that's going to be really great. Really looking forward to making those videos and putting it all together.
Yeah, for me it's going to be PRGE when we did Blockbuster Video World Championships 3. Being in that environment with the room and everybody there, just so pumped to see the games and the competition, and then getting to meet Tim Kitzrow and Paul Niemeyer and have them on the show. It was such an experience. That for me was like I need to do this,
I've been trying to get Tim on the pod. He's working on some stuff, so he said hit him up in a couple months, which I definitely will be doing. So last question for the both of you. What was it like making history at the Blockbuster World Championships #3, only the third one ever? Can you talk about that experience and how you ended up being involved there?
Yeah, so that was quite a wild ride. It all starts, as so many things do, with just one conversation. So I reached out at Rose City Comic Con to some folks that I just knew from the community and said, wouldn't it be interesting if we had some sort of live streaming presence at PRGE? And they said, yeah, that would be interesting. And then 2 weeks before the show, they contacted me and asked if I wanted to run the tournament. And I thought, wow, that's not something I can do alone, but let me get back to you. I made a couple of calls. First, I called a friend to just settle down to see if that was, can I get this together in 2 weeks? And then I called this guy here. And so, Jeremy and I had been collaborating on a couple small projects, long distance in the past, video game tournaments, things like that, but never had the opportunity to put our work together in person. And in 10 days, we put the whole Blockbuster Video Tournament World Championship 3 together with the show that we were able to produce. And I think it was a lot of fun. I had a really great time. And we walked out of that show and then made a video on the PRGE floor, and it was great stuff.
Yeah, so Blockbuster Video World Championships 3 was an insane experience because I'd never done anything like that either. Nicole contacted me and said, hey, we have an opportunity to stream this. Do you think you can do it? I was expecting a couple tables, maybe a camera here or there. We get there and there's projectors set up and it's huge, and I have my laptop and a couple cameras and a couple capture cards in my backpack. That was my carry-on that I brought everything. So when you go and watch the stream from that show, that was all done from a backpack. Absolutely wild experience, but it really got us started. And that video we made after the stream was how PixelPon became what it is now.
Nicole and Jeremy from PixelPon, thank you so much for your time.
Thanks for having us.
Nicole and Jeremy are two of the personalities in my local gaming community that you should definitely keep an eye on. So watch out for what PixelPon does next. However, the next segment of this show is pretty special. You see, the first two folks that I asked to be on this show when I decided to start the podcast were John Hancock and John Riggs. Now, in the case of John Riggs, when he and I get together and we don't really have a timetable for our conversation, we will talk and we will hang out with each other, and we did exactly that. Our interview went for over 2 hours. And so about half of it ended up on Patreon, along with the Patreon exclusive content that I had planned. See, for every episode of this show, I include a little bit extra for the folks on Patreon, and I usually plan that out. It's usually pretty silly, and it usually gets a little bit more fun, a little more interesting on the Patreon side of things. That being said, the interview with John Riggs was so long that I had to basically cut half of it, put it up on Patreon, along with the planned Patreon content. So what I've done today is decided to share with you what normally would have been the Patreon exclusive section of that interview. So there's still about half an interview, I think a little less than half of an interview, available on Patreon with John Riggs in the sort of like unedited or less edited version of our conversation. However, what I've decided to share with you all today is a little bit of a sneak peek into what kind of silliness we get up to over on the Patreon. It's normally classified as what's called a lost level. And you can watch all of the lost levels for all of the interviews that I've had on this show over on patreon.com/DJSwitchPDX, up to and including the Battle Royale episode that I had a couple of weeks ago. That being said, I hope that you will enjoy this special bonus content that I recorded with John Riggs. Before we part ways,
Yes.
So I've been kind of thinking about this, and
Question.
yeah. So the question I want to ask you this time,
Switch after dark here. Watch out.
based on that is a
Watch out. I'm going to start slowly taking my party time shirt.
hang on.
Not quite. No, you got to pay extra for that.
I need a much bigger audience before I can launch the OnlyFans. Like, we're not there yet.
How about only hams? Can we do that?
Oh God,
nice smoked ham. There we go.
Let me tell you, man, the thing that absolutely nobody is asking for is an OnlyFans account focused on the retro gaming scene. Just a
I
lot
promise there's
of
one that exists. I mean, if show, I could show off like circuit boards, to like I want to remove the top of this NES game and look at that gorgeous MMC1.
all these beardy 40 to 60-year-old dudes that are like topless working on a pinball machine or something.
Oh my god! Talking about magic smoke. Watch out now.
Just beer gut hanging. Yeah,
Those are my people.
Oh man, that's now. And see, now I want to start that OnlyFans account just to see how it does. Just
it won't. Who knows?
Man,
maybe it will. I don't know anymore. I don't know. I don't have a clue.
There's a lot of folks on the internet, man. You never know. You never know who's into what.
If there's one fetish out there, there's a fan base for it. That's all it takes, man.
But all right. So here's the question.
What do you got?
So
exclusive.
You have to relive the same Saturday morning every day for a week.
Oh, terrible.
What cereal are you eating? What game are you playing? What TV show are you watching? I want every detail. What is that Saturday morning that you have to relive every day for a week?
Oh, so not a specific date then, just a general.
It's like a Groundhog scenario where a Groundhog Day scenario where it's like every morning the alarm goes off. It's the same annoying song, and you just have to relive that same Saturday, a la Bill Murray.
Yeah. You know what's funny too, because there was a time there. I'd have to go to the 80s because there was a time in the 90s where I had my next door neighbors move in next door. I mean, obviously they're my next door neighbors. Of course they move in next door. Their kids would always play outside hella early. They had dogs that would bark. And oftentimes I would wake up from them just playing outside. And they're just kids playing outside. So it's like I can't get mad at that. Yeah. I understood that.
I've been there.
and it took me it actually took me a couple of years after they moved in. I was like, oh my god, these kids. When I learned they had a Nintendo, I was like, oh cool, I have a Nintendo. So then we ended up like trading games, and we ended up becoming like we'd always play all the 2-player games together. But growing up, it was pretty annoying to wake up that way. But the cereal, I have to look at my cereal boxes up here. Nothing fun up here. Oh, it would have to be something I could never get sick of, and I don't think I would ever. Oh, it would either be like Frosted Flakes. It might be Frosted Mini Wheats would be my cereal because
Solid
it also fills me up quicker. Unlike, let's say, like Fruity Pebbles, where I can eat the entire box and be like, okay, shoot, where's the food?
Right.
So
yeah.
So I could get on with my life quicker if I do the Frosted Mini Wheats.
You get your fiber from the Frosted Mini Wheats.
I get my fiber.
I
need more. I need as much of that as I can at my age.
Yeah, for sure.
Got my fiber. The video game I would play would be a game I would never get sick of playing. I mean, I think of games like Super Dodgeball, which I love Super Dodgeball, but I could also just like beat it in one sitting and then I'm done. So it's like, do I play something? I wouldn't want to play like an RPG because if I'm living the same day, then I have to like restart the same game every time.
You get real good at that first like couple hours of Earthbound.
I know. That's rough. What's a game I can? Oh, there's several of them. I'm trying to think of like what would be one I could just play through. Well, especially if the game had passwords, and I could keep the password. I do have a very fond memory of a Saturday morning where I rented The Adventures of Lolo at Safeway because my local video store didn't have it. Blockbuster Video didn't have it, but Safeway had Adventures of Lolo. I was like, oh, I saw this in a magazine. I'll play this, and it turned out I loved it. So, Frosted Mini Wheats, Adventures of Lolo, Saturday morning cartoon has to be Captain and the Game Master because I have the DVDs too. I have the DVD set. But as far as that goes, that's the cartoon I'm watching. And then what was the other one?
Does Captain N hold up as well as the real Ghostbusters, you think?
Oh hell no. Absolutely
no.
No.
Okay.
No, I only Captain N didn't hold up to Care Bears back in those days, but you watched it anyway because you were such a fan. You had to endorse
because Nintendo.
Because Nintendo.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, real Ghostbusters, legit. Beetlejuice cartoon, legit. So many great dad jokes. So many great puns.
Yeah.
The Earthworm Jim cartoon, underrated, super hilarious. Dan Castellaneta, the voice of Homer Simpson plays Earthworm Jim. The writing is hilarious. it's so good. I have that DVD too.
Real quick aside about that, actually. So in 22, the AV company that handles all the AV for the Retro Gaming Expo, they hooked me up with a video wall, which was so sick.
Oh, nice.
But
yeah.
completely unexpected. It was like Thursday after sound check. I was like wrapping up sound check and like getting ready to start the weekend.
Right.
And the AV guy, John Klein, comes rolling up with this massive video wall. He's like, "Hey, Switch, I brought you something." I'm like, "What the is that?" And he goes, "Oh, it's a video wall."
Oh.
Just casually like, "Oh yeah, here," because that's how he is. And
Sounds about right.
and so I had to like scramble to put together like graphics for the video wall to like run through the week. So that's what I did. I went home Thursday night, threw together a spare laptop with a copy of OBS and some extra graphics that we could run and then set it up Friday morning.
Jeez.
And yeah, it was all very last minute. But this year, 23, or I should say this last year, because it's 24 now.
I'm not there yet either, dude.
Yeah. I keep thinking it's 23 still.
The podcast we did earlier, the ones for the freebie ones that everyone else saw. Yeah, I kept thinking. I was like, earlier this year. I mean, last year. God.
Right. Yeah. So in 23, I actually texted John and I was like, "Hey, man, I just wanted to kind of check in with you and see if there's going to be a video wall this year. Because if there is, I want to get some content ready for it. If not, no big deal, right?"
Right.
And he texted me back like a couple days later. He's like, "Hey, I don't think we're going to be able to make it happen this year." I was like, "All right, cool, no worries. I'm not gonna look a gift horse in the mouth." But the reason why I texted him was because I was digging into video game cartoons, and I wanted to start pulling clips from video game cartoons, and I mean, I was digging deep.
Sure.
Double Dragon cartoon.
Oh, wow. Nice.
Mortal Kombat cartoon.
Yeah, nobody remembers that.
The old Legend of Zelda.
Okay. Yeah.
It was very short-lived. I don't even think it made a full season. Because it was awful. It was really awful. But yeah, I mean, Earthworm Jim was in there. There was all these, and then so like I was really trying to put together. So what I ended up doing instead was I put together like a solid hour of Saturday morning cartoon themes, and about, I would say, a solid third, or maybe a little more than a third of them were video game cartoon themes that nobody like. I couldn't expect anybody to be able to pick that out of a crowd and be like, "Oh, that's the Double Dragon cartoon theme." No one remembers that.
I could probably, I bet I'll be able to recognize the pole position theme. That's about it. Yeah, Double Dragon cartoon theme. I don't remember. I liked pole position. Saturday Morning Supercade, maybe that one, but not the individual like the Frogger, and Pac-Man for sure. The Pac-Man cartoon, I actually liked that one a lot.
The Pac-Man cartoon was in there. I'll be Captain N, obviously. Like
sure.
That's not a video game per se, but it's obviously like multiple video games were represented in that show. So like you had to,
Sure.
So breakfast cereal, we got the Frosted Mini Wheats.
I'll say Frosted Mini Wheats, and then Adventures of Lolo, because I have a very fond Saturday morning memory playing Adventures of Lolo, our cold linoleum floor, because we just got a new floor again during that time. So I literally had my feet on a pillow because my feet were so cold. Whatever. My own memory. I already said that. But I'm watching Captain N just because I have to watch Captain N because I have to support. I did like Captain N because a lot of the episodes he would go to a different video game land. So it's like, oh, this time he's in Tetris. This time he's in Faxanadu. This time he's in, Dragon Warrior was one of the episodes. So I was like, oh, it's kind of cool. And when they go to those worlds, then they have a lot of times they'll have like a symphonic version of like the music, like the cartoon versions of the video game. So I loved.
Yeah.
I grew up playing piano, and I was like, I would play. Until the internet, I thought I was the only guy who ever played video game music on the piano because who else would do that? But now everybody does. It's a big thing now. But I'd be like doing piano recitals in my earlier days. And you had a fourth question in there, and I forgot what it was.
Honestly, I don't remember either, but that's okay.
Oh, perfect. Okay, there you go.
Here's what I want to know.
All right, what do you got?
So after Captain N, after you finish your cereal while watching Captain N, right?
Yeah, because I never eat and play at the same time. I always want to keep my controller clean.
Yeah, for sure. So then you play for a bit. Do you then venture outside of the house and go to the arcade, or do you stay home and just clock the hours on the console till it's bedtime?
No, I got arcade at home. What are you talking about? No, I don't have especially during those times, I didn't have my own money. I didn't really have an allowance so much as like other kids did. So, me going to the arcade was if I happened to be at the mall anyway. Now, in my area, again, this is going, and we could have saved this for the other part of the podcast, but this is what makes it exclusive, is the arcade scene, especially in the late 80s into the early 90s. Yeah, there was a couple of arcades here and there, but they had an arcade machine or two at every gas station, at every grocery store, at every restaurant. And so I would keep track of who had what. And, I had a where in New York you have bodegas everywhere. We have mini marts everywhere in my town. There's a gas station on every corner. The gas station always has like grab a soda, grab whatever. We call it pop in the Northwest. And I'd kind of keep track of like, okay, well, the 7-Eleven over here has Zybots, but then this one has a Double Dragon, and we had a Red Robin. So I can count on the times I ate. We had the Red Robin was in between it was right next to Blockbuster. So it was like Red Robin, Blockbuster. I can count the number of times I ate at Red Robin on one hand since like all the way through high school. But I went there all the time because I'd just go straight back to the back of the arcade. I never ate there because we had a Burger King across the street where I could get a double cheeseburger for 99, or I think it was $1.99 at the time or something like that. But we had the arcade back there, and the arcade back there had Sky Shark, Cyberball, 8-Ball Deluxe on pinball. Trust me, we had Goonies, not Goonies 2. This was we had a Versus cabinet that had Goonies and Castlevania. We also had Super Mario Brothers as well.
Nice.
No. We had the Versus was Super Mario Brothers, Castlevania, and then we had a Play Choice 10, and that's where I played Goonies. Was on the Play Choice 10.
I love the idea that you're like on a first name basis with the Red Robin manager. Like, hey Steve, hey John. You heading to the back? Yeah, I'll see you later.
Never like I always felt kind of weird. Like I didn't really have. I didn't have the social anxiety, but I also didn't know how to act. And usually I'd walk in and they'd usually smile. It would be. I swear it was someone different every time who was just like, because you'd walk in there and say like, oh, hey, party for 3 or whatever. I would literally just I wouldn't even say anything. I would just walk right past them and go straight back to the arcade. And right next to the arcade was a cigarette vending machine where you could get like Marlboros for like $1.25. Completely. No, I didn't smoke. So I never took advantage of it. I may or may not have known a few others who would say,
friends of yours that
it's like you could buy cigarettes, $1.25, pop in 5 quarters. But for me, it's like 5 quarters. That's
without getting carded. Yeah,
I got Castlevania back there. I'm not spending my quarters on this thing.
Exactly. Exactly. Why would I buy cigarettes when I can play more video games? Man.
So my arcade scene, I didn't leave the house much for arcades on that purpose. If I happen to find a quarter, I might keep it for next time I go to like the gas station. I was a huge soda fiend, so I would always get we had the refillable cups were cheap for for Pepsi or whatever. I drink Pepsi. I drink Coke now.
Were you ever a graveyard guy?
Not I tried it not for soda, but for not for pop, but for slush puppies. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I never did like the Pepsi, Diet Pepsi, orange, root beer. I just want Pepsi.
So
but for
that's
a slush puppy. I'll do the lime, the grape. Because why not?
So real quick, just to kind of for anybody who might be listening to this that might not know what I'm talking about when I say a graveyard, and I love, by the way, John, I love that you knew exactly what I was talking about, dude.
Trust me, hell yeah.
But for anybody who maybe doesn't know the term graveyard, it's when you walk up to a soda fountain and you get
my next air freshener.
Oh geez! Oh no! So a graveyard is when you walk up to a soda fountain at a Plaid Pantry or 7-Eleven or anywhere that has like a soda fountain that's you serve yourself, sure. And you just get a little bit of everything and you just mix them all into the same cup. And I knew people growing up that were like super into that. That would just love, they would talk about like, oh, you got to get a little more, you got to get a little less of the orange soda because it's really overpowering. So you mix it with more of the diet to kind of like balance it out. Like we're talking like graveyard
like food
chefs.
science.
Yes, like they would get into like the ratios of how much of each soda you're supposed to get the right mix to get the perfect flavor.
That's
And
funny. Yeah,
I was a Pepsi guy.
Grapes are very heavy flavor, so I could imagine not having as much grape as, let's say, strawberry or cherry or something like that. But
yeah, or
that's
orange.
Funny. I never thought about that. That's hilarious. And I never once. I always felt like I would be stealing if I did, but I always wanted to mix that with like Sprite, so it'd be kind of like a little carbonated as well. But I never got as far because it was like, hey, you can't do that. And it's like, well, no, this is more expensive than that, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, man, I haven't thought of a graveyard in years. See, that's my nostalgia coming back. Man, I used to, because now you go to these places and they're already pre-mixed, and you have like one or two, especially with 7-Eleven, and you could never do a graveyard with. Now, a graveyard with Slurpees are different because it color matches the things. You can do like a layer of lime or a layer of orange. 7-Eleven's growing up, at least here in the 80s, we only had 2 flavors, and one was always Coke. So it was Coke and then the flavor that you would actually get, because who wants a Coke Slurpee?
Coke and then the other one.
Yeah. Hoping for lime. Pina colada, I'll take it.
You say that, but Coke was literally the only Slurpee flavor I ever wanted.
Oh, there you go.
Like, if you could get a Coke Slurpee, why would you get anything else? That was clearly the superior.
I was on that one. I'm glad somebody had it, but now you go to the 7-Eleven and there's like 8 options, and I also live in Yakima, Washington, which is a prominently Hispanic majority. We're Hispanic majority Spanish, so like our 7-Eleven has like horchata Slurpees and stuff like that too. So which are amazing, by the way. But
yeah, that sounds phenomenal. I remember. It's so weird to like think back on all the like weird little stuff that you remember that you haven't thought about in so long.
That's what I love about it.
I remember.
Google it.
I remember that movie. What was that movie? It was a Pauly Shore movie. Encino Man.
Encino Man, of course.
Where he was wheezing the juice.
Wheeze the juice. That's right. Don't wheeze the juice.
And I remember watching a friend of mine do the graveyard thing after seeing that movie, and I was just like, you don't know whose mouth has been on that, bro. Like, what are you doing?
Oh. That's true. I bet after that movie came out, I bet there's people who tried that.
Oh man,
but I couldn't imagine, because I don't like getting my hands dirty to begin with. I mean, I'm okay with it now, but at the time,
I was a kid. I was like in elementary school, and even as like an elementary school age kid, when that movie came out, I remember seeing that and going, "Ugh, what is he doing? Like, how many people have touched that? Why would you put your mouth on that?"
That's right.
And they have like the digital soda things now, where like you walk up and then it's got the touch screen and you touch all the different crazy flavors and stuff. Sure. So like in some ways, Coca-Cola has kind of capitalized on the whole concept of mixing and matching your own sodas in the fountain. Like,
that's true.
They've taken it to another level now. So.
Really is. I know they don't have a graveyard feature. That's just like I've said that too, because I've seen, we have them at Burger King. We have them. There's a couple of gas stations in town. I mostly see them at restaurants that carry those. Our Burger King has one. Our Popeyes chicken has one of those as well. I do like I love lime flavoring. So I love like the lime Sprite or lime Fanta, whatever. But I would love a roulette one, just like a Russian roulette style, just like mystery, just like it's going to start doing random stuff, and you're just gotta. I mean, unfortunately, it's unlimited refills at these places, so if you don't like it, you can dump it and do it again, I guess. But
was it? Doesn't Google have like a feeling lucky button where you can just get?
No,
something
they do.
right?
Yeah, the feeling lucky is when you search for something and just give me the top result. It's probably the right one.
So I can imagine a soda. One of those touchscreen soda things where like there's a button in the corner that says "feeling lucky," and then it just spits out a random soda.
Yeah, if you don't know, I mean, it'll come out. Maybe it'll be it'll be grape Diet Coke. Who knows? And then maybe it turns out to be your favorite thing ever.
Since I know that somebody from Coke definitely is watching this, listen up. If you decide to put the mystery buttons on those touchscreen Coke vending machines, I want my cut.
That's right.
You'll be hearing from my lawyers.
That's it.
My lawyers, plural, as if I could afford one, let alone multiple. John, thank you so much, man. This was an absolute blast, and I really hope we get to do it again soon.
I hope so, man. Always a pleasure.
I want to give a big thank you to all of my guests today on this very special episode of Pick Up and Play. I, of course, meant to have this out weeks ago, but production and timing and things and life just sort of like happen. And so I'm glad to be able to finally share this with you all. That being said, if you want to see even more content from Pick Up and Play, please go over to patreon.com/DJSwitchPDX. You can support the show for only $5, and you get all of the extra content for all of the episodes that I've produced up to this point, and all of the extra content that I will be producing in the episodes going forward. I have several new interviews booked, and I'm excited to share more of the personalities within my gaming community with you all via this show. However, in order to continue to expand the show, expand the scope, do bigger, cooler, more interesting things, it's going to take some resources, and that's going to require your support. So please consider supporting the show by going to patreon.com/DJSwitchPDX, helping me to get this thing even further off the ground, be able to do cooler interviews, be able to do more stuff. It all helps. So every little bit is absolutely welcome and encouraged. That being said, I'm looking forward to seeing you all at my next event at Vault 31 Bar. Of course, a big thank you to Vault 31 Bar for their support on this show. And as always, a big thank you to the Portland Retro Gaming Expo for their support as well. Now, before I leave you, again, this is a little bit different from my normal format, but I wanted to leave you with some thoughts that I had for Yusuf as we were wrapping up our interview that I thought would sort of bring a little bit more context to his role in my team of DJs and why I was excited to bring him into the fold and why I'm looking forward to working with him even more in the future. I hope you'll enjoy this little snippet, and I hope you all have a wonderful rest of your day. I am looking forward to seeing you on the next episode of Pick Up and Play.
You know, playing music to like a public crowd of people, it boils down to being about connecting with those people. Mm-hmm. You know, using music as sort of the catalyst that allows one person to connect to another person or to a room of people. Mm-hmm. And the thing about being a DJ is like, I can teach someone how to mix. I can teach someone how to program. I can teach someone how to market. I can teach someone how to play the records. What I can't teach is how to understand that it's about the people. Mm-hmm. It's about people connecting with people, and the music is just the way you do that.
Right.
You understood that right from the jump, and that's why you got the invite to come join the team, and I'm so glad that you said yes, because we've been having a good time ever since.
Thank you, sir. Thank you as always.